thing too, Ed, is the fact that when Asian women had cancer, they didn't tell other people, the older generation especially. They would hide it. They don't want people to know that they're ill and that they have that. So therefore, they might just die having something that they didn't even know what it was or would admit to it. Let me ask you something, Fujin, in that, we've heard so much about the mammogram and the fact that it's not necessary for women that are 40 to have a mammogram every year. You should wait till you're older. And I know my own doctor said, no, she said, I still want you to get, a mammogram every year. So how, with you being the chairman of your association, how do you perceive this information getting back to the women that they should have it?
Like Susan just mentioned, a very good idea. Sometimes those annual policy report based on the big group, okay? But I think for this kind of the mammogram, to me, especially of the Asian women, I was told, I'm not a medical doctor, but I was told our breasts are much more dense. Okay, and sometimes mammogram is hard to catch, but still, as a woman, okay, to me, if you have the cancer, you have the cancer, okay, and it's your life. As a woman, I think you still have to be very aware, okay, and to be your self-advocate. And I very strongly echo the Susan just said, because some of her story in 1990 repeated in my story too. When I was diagnosed in 2002, pretty much the same language from my doctors. You're too young. I was diagnosed in the age of 42, and also Asian woman, your chance is very low, so it's not likely that you have a breast cancer, and plus no family history. See, so you can see after how many years, the same thing still again. So I'm not here trying to say we don't trust the doctor, but I'm saying as a woman, they have the guideline over there. Okay, but it's your breast, it's your body, and it's your life too.
Well, another thing too is that Asian women as a whole are very flat-chested, and perhaps it's a little bit more difficult to diagnose that, because I know when we get a mammogram, if a person's too small, I even wonder how they can squeeze it, the instrument, because and that could be another reason. I mean, there's so many reasons possibly.
I heard lots of stories about that.
Right.
They just squeeze so many times. I went through the stereotactic, the biopsy, and after that one, I told myself, that's it, because I have I have a methadone for one side, and the other side they found a kind of a suspicious area, and they said they want to do that one. And I know they did it 23 times at MD Anderson, and after that I said, that's it.
I'm glad you said that, Elsie. I could never say that and get away with saying Asian women are flat-chested. I would be killed. I would have gotten killed for that. But Virgin, you actually have a full-time job teaching. You're a doctor at Sam Houston State University, teaching sociology.
Sociology department, yes. That's my. I always tell them I wear multiple hats, and that's my. The real job, and actually I was the Department of Sociology. I taught there almost 19 years already.
I want to point out one thing to our audience that has been very apparent, and this is one of the reasons why we have this show, is because it's not just for those who are very fluent in English, for instance, but it's actually for people who are not as fluent in English but still need the services. And as you can tell, Susan is third generation American in this country, and Virgin, you're the first generation here. Although Virgin has a small accent, I think that it's still a matter of trying to get information out in the language that we're most comfortable with, isn't it? It's what I see. And your story as a cancer survivor is one that can be told in a different language to others. And I think that's isn't that the commonality you might see?
I think so. That's, I think, why the Susan's organization also, I think 2 years ago, the organization I volunteered, the Light and Soul Association, we got a grant from Susan G. Komen, Houston affiliate, and started a breast cancer support group. The reason I started the same thing here, because when I went through the journey, I can say I can read those literatures. I'm pretty educated in terms of those degrees, but still psychologically, or even, medical terminology, because like I said, when I was diagnosed, all I know is the two words, breast cancer, and the rest of it, the resources, treatment plan, the chemo drug, anything, I have no idea. So, but the most important is really the emotional, because I remember when I was diagnosed, I was at age 42 at the peak of my career, and I started to look for information, and I want to talk to somebody who are survivor, See, I tell my family, find someone who are breast cancer survivor and are Asian, in my age, in my stage of the diagnosis. If they survive, then I say I have a hope to fight.
That's right.
Well, we're just getting into hearing more about the dynamic story and really the enthusiasm and the positive nature that these two ladies have brought to the program so far. We'll be right back and listen more from Susan and Virgin.
Welcome back to the Asian Insights. Our topic today is about cancer, and it's been very, very interesting to hear what these ladies had to say about it. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about the various types of cancer, Susan?
That are prevalent in Asian populations?
Yes.
Asian populations tend to have high rates of cancers that are very low in white populations in the United States. And conversely, the cancers that are very low in most Asian populations are higher in the white populations. So, as I said earlier, one of the reasons why the cancer rates for breast cancer, people think that it's low, it's because there's such a high number of immigrants that come from Asia that have the lowest breast cancer rates in the world. And they come here and they get higher breast cancer rates. But other cancers that are very high in Asian populations are liver cancer. Liver cancer is a cancer that is can be caused by hepatitis B. And Asians have a very high rate, especially Asian immigrants have a very high rate of hepatitis B. They need to get vaccinated or they need to be treated so that they can try to prevent the liver cancer. There's also very high rates of cervical cancer, which is also caused by another virus, the HPV virus. Now with the new Gardasil, the vaccination for young women, hopefully we can get rid of some of those rates. But cervical cancer is pretty high, especially in Vietnamese communities and some Chinese communities, Korean communities. It's a cancer that can be prevented. It's a cancer that nobody should die of, but Asian women are dying of cervical cancer in the United States. Stomach cancer is a very high rate cancer. It's a low cancer in the United States, but in a lot of Asian countries it's a very high rate. Now, when women come to the United States, their breast cancer rates go up. When people come from Asia to the United States, their stomach cancer rates go down.
Let me ask you something then. Do you think it has anything with diet?
I think it has a lot to do with diet. Yeah. There's been a lot of research recently that there's nothing absolutely conclusive, but diet certainly seems to be a factor. Eating tofu, for example, in Asian countries you start eating at a very young age, and that seems to have a protective factor to it. Green tea seems to have a protective factor. But if you're somebody that's got breast cancer and then you start eating tofu at 35, 40 years old, the research is showing that it's probably not going to do you that much good. There's something about growing up with this and having the protective factor in your body. But definitely diet. And the United States has the fattest, one of the worst diets. And obesity is showing that. And so it certainly has a lot to do with diet.
Well, we've kind of proven that with those who have moved from across the Pacific into the United States and changing their diet. It just seems like that fat meat just tastes pretty good in a lot of terms. But we found that even in the Asian restaurants, there are a lot of very fatty foods that if you overconsume some of those things, it can also be very damaging.
Well, Edmund, the Chinese people I know like pork. And there's a dish that has the fat skin and the fat that is really, really good. Okay, they call it lion head or something like that. And then you take, the sausage, lap chiang. There's always a lot of fat in there. Of course, they've changed that and made it, with turkey meat and took a lot of fat off. But these are some of the things we were wondering, because and then liver cancer is caused by a lot of drinking and other things, of course. So diet has a very important message here as far as what you have to be careful in eating, and as a child growing up, what you should be eating as well.
I have to